Hi, this is All Leeds TV. I'm Martin, and this is the player ratings for the Leeds versus Leicester game. How are you all doing? Did you enjoy yesterday's game? I want to hear all your thoughts from what you felt was good, what you felt was bad. It's just me tonight. A few of the other guys are busy, or in Phil's case, who normally does this with me, he wasn't actually able to watch the game yesterday. A nice little story there, which I'm sure he will regale you with himself when he's next on. But it's just me, unfortunately. I know, disappointing. I'd be disappointed if it was just me too. But you'll have to make do with it. So, the game yesterday against Leicester City, we did well. It was a good game. I thought we looked back to our best, at least in moments we did. There were still some moments which weren't perfect, but it was so much drastically improved from what we have seen in recent weeks. And it's a great sign of things to come. And we could have won the game. We should have won the game, in my opinion. It was very close towards the end of the game. Leicester started getting a few chances, but we still had the best chance of the game, even in the second half. Yeah, exactly, Johnny. Best performance of the season so far. And we need to keep this up. We need to use this momentum that we've got from this game. Even though it's only a draw, we still have momentum from this. We need to continue and do what we're doing well. And let's go through some of the players who we thought did well. But I'm going to go from the back onwards, because we know who the stars were of the show. So I don't want to spoil it for you who I thought, but we'll go through it bit by bit. And I'm going to do things a bit differently since it's just me. I'm going to go things over a little bit more stats-based than what we would do normally, just to give you a bit more content here, because I like to do things my own way. So first off, at the back in goal, we had Meslier. What did people think to Meslier? Do you think he had a decent game? Anyone? Before I go ahead with what I thought, I want to see what some of you thought about it. And there's Phil. I'll get my 0.5s out. Don't worry, Phil. They're coming. So yeah, Meslier, I think he had a reasonable game. He didn't put in anything majorly wrong. A couple of loose balls here and there, but he did well. The goal, there wasn't a lot he could do with the goal. It was a very good hit by Barnes. I don't think he could have done anything with that. So he didn't concede any goals, which he shouldn't have done. So I'm going to give him a 6. He didn't have too much to do, but what he did do, he did fine. So just an average 6. No 0.5 yet, Phil. I'm going to save those for later. 7. We've got a few 7s and an 8 from 𝐾𝐉𝐿. I'm liking these. Someone else went with me, another 6 there from 14 Yorks. So yeah, Meslier did all right. Nothing bad, nothing great. And if we move on to the right side of the pitch, we had our very own Leeds-born, Cookstown Cafu, Stuart Dallas. And I thought he had a good game. He was linking up very well with Raphinha, and he did a lot of stuff which we used to seeing from Ayling, which we've missed for a while. The overlaps and sometimes underlap in runs that he made were great. And that moment where him and Raphinha combined and made Raphinha meg someone, that was just beautiful. So it's always good to have someone who's contributing to helping Raphinha out with those megs. But for me, Dallas, he got a 7. That's my rating. In fact, no, I'll go a step further than that. I'll go 7.5 just to keep Phil happy. I know he doesn't like it unless there's at least 1.5 in there. So we'll go 7.5 for Dallas. He could have had an assist as well. He did very well, very, very well. And I'm pleased for what he did. Go through some of the things that he did during the game. Just look through some of his stats. And yeah, there's some good stuff there. His pass accuracy wasn't that great, only 6%, but he was trying some pretty ambitious balls at times with him and Raphinha linking up, and they didn't always come off. But he still did well. Defensively, let's see what he got. Okay. 4 tackles. He actually had the most tackles on for us, which is great. No complaints there with his defensive work. And he also had 3 interceptions. So he did very well. So 7.5, very well earned. And what else people saying on Dallas? We've got some 7s and 8s. Yeah, he was a little bit out of position for their goal. We'll give you that. It was very quickly after we'd just scored ourselves, so he obviously wasn't fully switched on, which is frustrating. And I think the person who was most frustrated after when they equalised was Raphinha. His head went into his hands straight away. He knew that the momentum was gone then. But it was a good response by Leicester, so fair play to them. Let's move on to the centre-backs. So we had Llorente on the right centre-back and Cooper left centre-back. What did you both think of the pair of them? I'm good, Gail, thanks. I'm doing good. Enjoying delivering this content to you lovely people. And thank you, Richard. I'm good. Hello from Leeds. Hope Milan is lovely. But anyway, let's go back to what I was saying there about Cooper and Llorente. I felt they had some good moments between them and sort of some bad moments. The earliest bad moment came from Llorente about a minute into the game, where he tried a back pass which he didn't connect with, and put a lot of pressure on to our other defenders, and it was just about dealt with, but it could easily have been a goal. And that was very early in the game, so he obviously wasn't switched on right. For me, both of them got a 6. Both of them did some good work, especially Llorente. He kept Vardy quiet, but there was a couple of moments which he could have given away goals in the first half, which has brought his rating down from what would have been a 7 for how well he did with Vardy to a 6. And same for Cooper. They both did some great defensive work. Let's have a look through some of the stats which we can see for them defensively. We've got Liam Cooper just the one tackle, and Llorente had one as well. Interceptions, we had Llorente leading the pack with 7 interceptions. That's great work from Llorente. In fact, I hadn't noticed that before, so I'm going to bump his rating up to a 6.5 because of that. I hope that's okay to post bump up a rating. And there's Chris. Hello, Chris. I'm doing great. And yeah, Cooper did okay, but Llorente did that little bit better. So 6.5 for Llorente and a 6 for Cooper. Now, over on the left-hand side, we had someone playing in a different position to normal, and we had Pascal Stroud, who was playing at left-back. That's definitely something new for him, which I'm sure most of us would agree that he did quite well. In the first half, he could put a couple of loose passes about, but nothing that was too bad, and he didn't cause too much danger. Stroud, for me, had a very good game. He made a lot of passes. If you look over some of the numbers here, he had the most passes completed for us. He completed 50 out of 59 passes for a completion of 84.7%. Did anyone at Leicester do better? Nope. So he had the most passes on the pitch. So that's great. Great work from Stroud. He had 4 final third passes, 8 progressive passes. That's really good. He's second for progressive passes, joint with Calvin Phillips for 8 progressive passes. Nice work, Pascal. Nice work. And what about the other things that a left back normally does with the ball carrying? How did he do with that? Because that's one thing that we need our left backs to do. And did he do that? Do you think that he carried the ball well? Do you think he linked up well with Harrison on that side? Do we all think so? I thought he had some good moments, and he did do a few progressive runs. How many do we have? Not too many. In fact, none actually. None of them were progressive. That's unfortunate from Pascal, but it's not his position, let's face it. And that is one part of his game which is never going to be perfect. He's a big guy. His strengths are not at running. They are physically better. Jumping and holding off players, that's what is going to suit him. But yeah, Stroud got a 7 for me. That's what I got. Let's see what some of you thought about Stroud. Let's see, got some 7s, got some 8s, a lot of 8s, a 7.5, 7, some good ratings there. Yeah, it looks like I'm spot on with my rating. If a few of you agree with me around 7 to 8, that's great. He had a good game. And again, Bielsa was effusive in his praise of him after the game, that he did well. And that's who you've got to impress at the end of the day. Well, you can impress us as much as you like, but it's Bielsa who you have to impress more. So let's move on from Stroud into the middle of the pitch to Calvin Phillips. An improved performance from last week. I didn't think that Phillips had a great performance last week, but this week I felt that he did do a lot better. In the first half, sometimes he was a little bit loose with his touch, which did put us under pressure at some moments. But as the game went on, that went away, and there was no major problems caused by that bit of sloppiness. But it still wasn't perfect. But a 7. I've gone for a 7 for him. He by far had the most pressures on the pitch. And by most, I mean, this is the most I've seen an individual player make. He had 41 pressures. That's like a pressure every 2 and a bit minutes. That's just mad work from him. And he played the full game. He had 3 tackles, 2 of which he won, 6 interceptions, 1 clearance, 5 blocks. He's just a beast. I could not move anywhere near the level he does, even when I was a lot younger than what I am now. And you'll see that when we have the charity match next week. I'm going to be in goal for most of that, by the way. And yeah, Phillips, he had a good game. I was happy with what he did. I'm giving him a 7.5, actually, just to give him that little bit more. And let's move up to the next man in midfield, one who I was very, very pleased to see starting after over 2 years without starting for us. And that is the man himself, Adam Forshaw, the 𝐘𝐔𝐅𝐂. He bossed it. He didn't look like he'd missed a step. He looked like he'd been playing regularly. He was great. And am I 30 years old? I don't know. What do you all think? I'm definitely over 30 by a few years. I'm just saying I'm around the middle of the 30 to 40 range. But I've been told I look younger, so I'll get that way anyway. On to Forshaw. Forshaw, yeah, I've seen a few there, and Chris, I've got to agree there. It's a 9 for Forshaw. I'm going with what you said. He was just great. He was a sort of midfielder that we've missed out on over the past few months, and it's someone who can do the simple stuff well, who can set the tempo, help out with other players. He's just the way he moves around the pitch. He always seems to be open to a pass, which helps out other people around him, and it just makes us so much more solid and calm when we're building up. We haven't looked that calm for a long time. He was just great. I'm so happy that he's back, and lots of people doubted that he was ever going to get back to this and start a Premier League game. I know Phil himself has lost some money because of this. I believe he had a bet on with someone that Forshaw wouldn't start a game before Christmas, and he has started a game before Christmas. So whoever Phil owes some money to will be very pleased. Forshaw was great. Love the guy, and I can't wait to see him start more games. I think he's that performance. If he keeps himself fit, he's going to be hard to take out of the team. 𝐾𝐿 may well be seeing some more of the bench, which is a shame because I do like 𝐾𝐿. He's one of our better players when he's on form, but with that performance yesterday, it's going to be hard to shift him from the side. And the other player in midfield, slightly ahead of Forshaw, was Rodrigo. What did we all think of Rodrigo? We all like him? Think he did good? I was pleased with some parts of what Rodrigo did. His ball carrying was great. He ran around with the ball very well when he did it, but there was just a few moments where he made the wrong choice again in the final third, which is still something that we need to improve. He quite early on in the game, he frustrated me quite immensely. Where he ran from the halfway line, dribbled past someone, and was just moving towards the box, and he didn't look around what was ahead of him, and he'd gone quite far to the left to the goal mouth, and then he just hits a shot which didn't have a lot of power to it at all, which was easily saved by 𝐾𝐿. And just little things like that. He just needs to get his head up a bit more and try to be aware of what's around him. But on top of that, he missed a pretty big chance as well, I thought. One set up by Dallas. He could have given Dallas an assist, and he put it wide. In that effort, he should have at least got it on target for me. He didn't do great with that effort, and it annoyed me. But I know one player who would have finished that off were he playing, and that is Patrick Bamford. We miss him so much. We need someone like him who properly occupies centre-backs and can finish those chances. Rodrigo is too inconsistent with his finishing. Like last year against Newcastle and Burnley, the goals he scored off the bench, especially the ones against Burnley, my word, they were ridiculous, the finishes that he did on those. But then he just seems to lose it. It just goes out the window. He hasn't got the consistency that we need from a striker. Whereas we all know Bamford has had his times in the past where he hasn't finished well. But since he's gone to the Premier League, he's a changed man. And we need that from him. I'm hoping that we can see more from him after the international break. Got a couple of weeks now. But yeah, what Chris said, if Bamford was playing yesterday, we would have won that game by 2 goals easily. He would have finished off a few of those chances, which was put wide by others. And let's move on to the left flank, and that was Jack Harrison. What do we think of Jack Harrison yesterday? How did we think he did? Wait for a few of you to comment before I make my thoughts. I'm just going to look over some of the stats myself while I'm waiting for that to see how he did. Yeah, not too bad. He had some good stuff. He actually completed the most dribbles yesterday, although he did attempt a lot more than anyone else. He attempted 8 dribbles and was successful with 3 of them. That sums up his game for me. He had moments where he was great and he was carrying the ball well and moving up the flank. He's definitely improved from last week's performance, but there was still just that old Harrison indecisiveness which has plagued him from when he first joined us, and it seems like it's there to stay at the moment until he drags himself out of this form, and that's what he needs to do. He needs to drag himself out of it, and I think he will. I do. When Harrison's on his game, he's great. He's one of the best players for us, and his work rate was really good, I will say. But especially the big chance that he missed. He missed the biggest chance of the game, and it was around 0.6 XG, maybe a little less, which is a big chance. For those who don't know XG, a big chance clarifies as 0.3 XG, which means 30 out of 100 players would score it. The chance that he missed yesterday was 0.6, so it's double the expected goals of a big chance, and so 60 out of 100 players should be scoring it, maybe even more, but it was unlucky. He just swung his leg at it and the ball was a little bit higher than what he thought it was, and it hit his knee and went over. That's the sort of look that he's getting at the moment. That's all he needed, was a lovely little tap in just to get his confidence going, and that would have been great. But because of that miss, he's going to have to get a lower rating than what I would have done if not for that. It would have been a 6.5, but I'm dropping it down to a 5.5. He did some good based on last week's performance, and he worked very hard, but that big chance miss that would have won us the game, and I can't let that lie. That had to be... I had to drop him down a mark. And onto the other side, Raphinha. Well, you just run out of things to say about Raphinha, don't you? You just know each week he's going to be at least close to being the man of the match, if not the man of the match every week. Today, my man of the match was Forshaw, but if not for how Forshaw, it would have been Raphinha. He scored the goal, which was definitely on purpose. He meant to do that. You could tell the way he hit it, that he hit it perfectly into the far corner. He meant that to happen. He wasn't crossing the ball. I mean, if someone would have got the foot on it, fine, but he was trying to wrong foot Schmeichel, and wrong foot Schmeichel he did. It was perfectly placed. And on top of that, he was our most dynamic mover of the ball yesterday. He had 8 progressive runs and surprisingly just 1 successful dribble. Now I question that. The way dribbles are put down, they're not always right, because if the defender gets even 1 slight touch of the ball, it counts as a dribble fail, even if the player does end up getting past them. It's just if the player gets a touch on it, it goes down as a failed dribble. So he had 1 complete dribble according to FBref, but I don't believe that. I can remember at least 2 off the top of my head where he megged the players. And did they have those megs? Yes, they do. They have 2 megs for Rafinha. That is what we like to see. And my rating for him is an 8. He was slightly... Well, actually, no. I'm going to go higher, 8.5. We had Forshaw at a 9, and we had him at an 8.5, just below what Forshaw did. And he's just great. You can't ever put him down or question his work. He not only does he do the work in attack that he does, he also does the defensive work as well. He had 16 pressures. He had 4 interceptions. So when do you ever see a Brazilian player with this kind of off-the-ball work rate? You don't see it. You just don't see it. He's an elite player. And yeah, criticism. And that wasn't the one I meant to show. That's the one I meant to show, but that comment came in just as I was about to click. Yeah, he doesn't get enough credit for his work rate, but he never ever stops pressuring, and he plays. Unless like when he had that knock, he was coming off a little bit earlier. But at the moment, when he's fully fit, he's playing 90 minutes. He's running around constantly, and we know the sprints that he does. He's well known for being one of the players who sprints the most in the whole league, not just for us. In the whole league, he is head and shoulders ahead of everyone else, and I'm going to miss him because we can't keep hold of him, can we? I want to say that we could keep hold of him, but it's going to be tough. We would need to somehow get a lot closer to the top end of the table by the end of the season if we wanted to keep him, and I feel it's going to be nearly impossible to do, but we can hope. Who knows? He could be very happy here. He could be enjoying playing for Leeds and Marcelo Bielsa. We don't know what's going on in his head. He definitely isn't the normal Brazilian player. He has something different about him, and he does seem to gel very well with the rest of his team and enjoy the fan base. He seems to thrive off the love that we give him, which, I mean, who wouldn't? But yeah, I think I've refused about him more than enough. Let's move on to the final player who started, and that was Daniel James. We've moved from one player who was dynamite to James, and I feel harsh going from Rafinha to Dan James, but Dan James didn't have the greatest game going forward. He did a lot of good off the ball work. He had the most. He actually completed the most pressures than he had done since he's moved to us. He had 20 pressures, which is the 3rd most. Yeah, that's good work for him. His off the ball work is very good, but his shooting leaves a lot to be desired. He didn't have any big chances, so I'm not going to say that he missed a lot of big chances. He had a lot of shots, and he doesn't strike the ball very cleanly, and he's the wrong player to play as a striker for us. It really is. He has a lot of pace, and he has a lot of things which he can do well, but his crossing isn't great, and neither is his shooting that I've seen a couple of you say, and I gave him 6 because I expected a bit more from him. Bielsa loves him. We know he does, and he's been waiting for him for years, and I do think that he can do better. We haven't seen the best of him yet. He's only played for, 9 games now, 8? Something like that. How many games has he actually played for us? Let's check. He has played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. And let's not forget, he's playing some Leeds games out of position as well. And that shouldn't be swept under the rug that he's playing out of position, and he's already having to learn a lot moving into a team like ours. There's so many different combinations that players have to learn in the attacking lineup, and he's obviously learning slowly. But there was definitely some improvements today compared to last week and the previous weeks. So I'm thinking he will get there. It's just taking him a little bit longer than what some of the other players have taken to get up. What else have we got? The last 2 players were Roberts, who came off the bench. I didn't think Roberts had a bad game when he came off the bench. He wasn't on the pitch for very long. He was only on the pitch for 8 minutes. But in that time, he didn't misplace a single pass. All of his passes were on target. He completed 1 tackle in those 8 minutes, which is not a lot, but it's only 8 minutes that he played. And what else did he do? We wasn't on the pitch for long enough to do too much more than that. But he did fine. He didn't do anything drastically wrong. I don't think he had any shots. Did he? I don't remember any. No, he had no shots. He had some carries and one dribble completed. So in 8 minutes he did okay. I'll give him a 6.5. He did all right. He will eventually get there. It's just taking him a long time. And I know some people said it might be best for him to go on loan. I wonder that myself. I love Tyler. I do. I think he's a good character to have around the team. He has his flaws, but it could be now that we need to put him on loan to a championship club where he can play a lot more games. But that's up to Bielsa. We'll see what Bielsa decides to do with him at the end of this season. And the last player who played was Charlie Cresswell, who came on for Adam Forshaw quite late on. He only played a couple of minutes, and there's not too much you can say about him playing such a few minutes. It's just a few minutes. He just went on there because Forshaw was struggling a bit towards the end, which is natural with how long he's been out of play, that he was going to be blowing a bit towards the end of the game. And there's that moment which I think Phil Hay alluded to, that at one point he lost control of the ball and he was surrounded in our box by 4 Leicester players looking like a gazelle being pounced on by lions, who just somehow escaped in the David Attenborough documentary. Yeah, that moment wasn't great for Forshaw. That was the only bad moment that he had. But Charlie, yeah, I don't think I caught that crossfield ball, Chris, but I'll take your word for him that he did do a good one. I know that he's got that in him, and he's going to get more game time in the future, no doubt about that, Will Cresswell. And see what else I can say about the game. Well, that's about it. We've turned the corner, I think, in the performances that we've had. And I think if we continue with the way we're going, we're going to have better performances like this. Next game we've got after the international break is against Spurs. They haven't had their new manager very long, Antonio Conte, so I'm sure his ideas will be still working their way into the squad, and most of his squad will be away for the international break too, so he's not going to have many players to work with, but it is still a game that we're going to have to respect when we're looking at it, because it's not going to be an easy game. He will get there. Will Conte, no doubt. We know how good he is, and that's going to be a tough game for us. He organises his squad well, they go forward well, and Spurs do have a decent side. Harry Kane, I don't know what's going on with him this season, but yeah, we'll see what happens after the international break. But thank you all for watching. I apologise if I did a bit crap. It's my first time doing one of these by myself, but I hope you enjoyed it. As Oscar would say, smash that like button. Smash it, guys. Come on, smash that like button. And subscribe if you're not already. And look at the charity event, the charity match that's coming up next Friday. If you can donate a little bit, please do so. The link is below in the description. Just donate, even if it's just a couple of quid. It's going to a good cause, to the LUFC Foundation, and you'll be paying towards watching me flail around in goal and probably let in a lot of goals. So yeah, I hope you enjoy that. I won't. But yeah, bye guys, and see you next time. Bye.